Hey guys, it's Randy here with another video. Today we're going to cover the part of the choke system on the Holley. Guys, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support our channel, our Cash App is in the description below. Now, what we're going to cover is I'm going to show you two different choke systems. One's are pretty much just a regular, typical 4160, and this is kind of in depth. I'm going to have to go kind of slow with it where you understand. The vacuum is applied to this housing from inside the carburetor. It comes through here, it comes up to the bottom of this cylinder, and then what leakages past this piston will actually come out here and it'll be pulling a little vacuum. So you don't want this vacuum blocked, or either it's not going to pull the piston down at the bottom like it should. It draws that piston down. You want to run the air, either put you some kind of filter on this. Some of them come with like a rock filter inside if it doesn't have this hose. If it has this port here, not a hose, but a vacuum port, you want to run it, put a nipple here, run it from here to here. And all that does is it gives it air. It pulls air from the end of the carburetor, which is filtered air. And it actually draws it from this housing. It comes out here, comes vacuum pulling through here. So it's just drawing fresh air with filtered air where it don't put trash and everything in it. But you do not want to block this off. A lot of them, there is some you can, but this particular one, if it's got a piston, I don't know if I can get that piston where they can see it or not.
Let's see.
It ain't going to draw up far enough. There's a piston inside here. Let me show you on this one. You can see the piston there.
The top of it.
Yeah, there's actually a piston that runs up and down, and vacuum's being applied from the bottom of it. And this screw right here, this little flathead screw right here, when you screw it in, you're stopping the piston early. In other words, it's going further into the actual little cylinder here. So if you screw it out, it pulls it down further, which pulls the choke off more. Now I'll show you why this is important. For this, it's got to have vacuum to work the one with the piston. There's another one here I'm going to show you right quick. Is a 4180. It's got the diaphragm here, and it don't have a piston. It's using this diaphragm right here to do basically the same thing. Now I'm going to try to do this where they can see it. See how that piston comes out? The diaphragm pulls forward, and it moves this lever forward to crack this choke open. I don't know if they can see it working it right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is adjustable right here with an Allen wrench. A lot of times there's a nylon cap or a little aluminum cap on it. You just dig that out, and then you can use this little Allen wrench like so. You screw it in, it don't pull off as much. You screw it out, it pulls the choke off more. It's just that simple. And the amount this choke pulls off here is kind of critical. If it gets too far, let's say it's not pulling off enough, it'll sit there and try to flood. You're going to have to back this off a couple turns. And then when it gets about like so, you have to look up the exact spec, whether it's 3/16 or an 1/8 inch. I can't remember right offhand. But anyway, there's a measurement on that. You want that. This is going to control how much this cracks in the morning with the choke closed. You know, you always want to set the choke, mash it a couple times if it's cold, let your foot completely off. That's going to close your choke. And then when you crank it up, vacuum's applied this diaphragm, it's going to pull this. I can grab a hold of it. Let me see here. All right, there. All right, I've got it set a little bit too far open. But that's what it does. It opens up, and this is the stop. This screw here is the stop. So if we turn that in several turns, then we do the same thing. We're barely getting some off. That's how it changes the amount of choke butterfly, it cracking the butterfly open so far in the morning. Without that, if you didn't have the choke pull-off valve working, it'd just stay about half closed and it'd flood in the morning real bad. That's when you know that diaphragm usually went bad right here. And it's a pretty simple little job to change it. But anyway, the whole deal is here also. I had one of my guys ask me this question about blocking this off. This was originally for a hot air choke system, where the choke wasn't electric like this. It might have had a choke assist, but it wasn't a full 12 volts. And it wasn't like these. They were more open. There was no heating element behind it like that. And they would draw air from down in the exhaust manifold. This is pulling air past this piston. It's going to pull vacuum here with the cap on here, like so. It will seal. Well, that ain't going to fit. It's got the house on. But it will seal it off like so. And vacuum will draw right out here. So it would normally, back in the old days, it would pull exhaust heat from down in the manifold, which this is the filtered air. Now this comes into the carburetor, so it's filtered air. So it would draw air. This tube would go down to the exhaust manifold. Then it would come out to another tube going up to here. And then it would draw heat in here. And that's how it would open the spring, make it uncoil and open the choke. And these old choke tubes were bad about rust and all back then. They had a lot of problems, but it worked fine. And but this was just used as filtered air. In other words, it was letting it draw down into the stove, back up from the stove where it was pulling vacuum here. So it's just drawing it out. The heat, drawing fresh air into the exhaust manifold stove, which is not hooked to the, there's no exhaust coming out there. It's just heated by the exhaust. And then it comes up to this tube here to open this, to heat this little spring. Now, on these, they're full electric choke. This does not need the air to open this choke. So all we want to do here is don't block it. You want to, vacuum's going to pull here. So you want to put a nipple here or whatever. And if you have this filtered air port here, hook it straight to it with a piece of hose. Just go with a nipple here, run your piece of hose to here, and it'll just let it pull filtered air in. And that way it ain't pulling trash in. Okay, you could put this on and put your little filter, air filter, well, whatever. You can do it any way you want, as long as this is pulling clean air in. Because this is what works, this piston in here. If it's got the little piston like this, which it does, it's got to have that air, and it draws it in from the bottom. What little bit gets past it is going to come out here with this cap on there. It'll seal, and then you'll feel the air coming right out here. Okay, now, so that's why I wanted to mainly tell y'all about this, because you do not want to block this vacuum off, because it needs it to be able to work this piston properly. When it's cold and you crank it up, screwing this screw in is going to stop the piston early. It's going to come down to it hits that screw and stop. When you back it off, it'll let the piston come down further and crack the choke open more. So you want to actually take and bring this screw outward like that to make the choke crack more open. If it's too far, then you get your screwdriver and just screw it in a couple turns, and then crank it back up again and see if it's about 3/16 of an inch, somewhere around there. I think they tell you to use a drill bit. It's easy to use that and check it. But anyway, guys, that's how this system works. Remember, the piston pulls down, so you screw it in, you slow the travel down. It don't open the choke as far. You screw it out, it opens the choke further when it's cold. This is only applied when it's cold. So, because when the choke's open, you don't need it, but you need it to crack the choke open on a cold start. This one right here, guys, let me just show you real quick. This is the ones with the diaphragm, and it just uses this diaphragm. It catches it. If they can see that, can they catch this where they can see it? That diaphragm pulls back like that. It moves the choke open. The same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. When this diaphragm goes bad, it'll flood in the morning and won't pull the choke off. Okay, now this is one of the later ones. This is off of a 4180 off of GT Holley. You can see it's got angular boosters in the front, straight leg in the back. And it's got this housing, which I prefer this one. This is a smooth, good choke system. Especially the choke pull off. I like it a lot. All right, guys, I hope you learned something. And if you got any questions, leave me some comments down there and I'll try to answer them. And I'm going to go through another part of the choke system next. And then I'm going to show you a few more things. On some anti-diesel and solenoids, different types, and with the dash pots built into them. All right, guys, this is it. I'll catch y'all again maybe in the next 2 or 3 days. Y'all be good. Talk to you later.